don't even know where to start with this. I've been carrying this around for so long, and I feel like I'm about to explode if I don't get it out. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. I need to say it all, even if it's just to make sense of it myself. Maybe someone out there can help me figure out what to do, because honestly, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Sorry if this gets long, but there's a lot to unpack. So, for some background, I'm 18 and my sister's 32. She married her husband, let's call him Raymond, when I was just 6 years old. I remember being so excited about the wedding. My family made it seem like this huge magical event, and I was the flower girl. I felt like a princess, walking down the aisle in my little dress, throwing petals everywhere. At the time, I thought Raymond was the coolest. He was funny, he paid attention to me, and he seemed like the perfect addition to our family. But looking back now, I realize how wrong I was. The first time something happened, I was 6. Just a few months after the wedding, Raymond started coming over to our house a lot, and my parents trusted him completely. He was family now, after all. One day my parents were busy in the kitchen. I was sitting on the couch watching TV. Raymond sat down next to me, and at first it seemed normal. But then he put his hand on my thigh and started rubbing it. I remember feeling this weird, uncomfortable sensation, but I didn't know what it meant. I tried to scoot away, but he pulled me closer and whispered, "This is our little secret, okay?" I didn't know what to do, so I just froze. I didn't even know how to process what was happening. After that, things got worse. These little moments, as he called them, started happening more often. He'd find ways to be alone with me, offering to drive me to school, volunteering to babysit when my parents were out, or showing up at our house when he knew no one else was home. By the time I was 10, the touching had escalated. He started exposing himself to me and forcing me to touch him. I was terrified. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew it felt wrong. I just didn't know how to stop it. When I was 11, I finally worked up the courage to tell my mom. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, my hands shaking, trying to explain what Raymond had been doing. But instead of comforting me or getting angry at him, she just stared at me with this blank expression, and then she said, "Don't make up stories about your sister's husband. He's a good man who provides for her. You're probably just misinterpreting things." When I tried to insist, she got mad and told me never to talk about it again. That shut me down completely. I felt like no one would ever believe me. As I got older, I started avoiding family gatherings. I'd make up excuses, homework, not feeling well, plans with friends, anything to keep from being in the same room as Raymond. My parents and sister thought I was just being a moody teenager. My sister would complain all the time about how I was ruining family time by not showing up. She had no idea that I was just trying to protect myself from her husband. When I was 14, things got even scarier. Raymond started showing up at my school. He'd sit in his car and watch me from across the street. He'd send me texts from unknown numbers describing what I was wearing that day and telling me he was always watching me. I felt like I couldn't escape him. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, terrified of what he might do next. I tried to tell my sister once when I was 15. We were having a rare moment alone together, and I thought maybe she'd believe me. But before I could even finish explaining, she slapped me across the face. She accused me of trying to ruin her marriage because I was jealous of her perfect life. I had a red mark on my face for hours. But when I got home, my parents didn't even ask about it. It was like They didn't want to see what was right in front of them. By the time I was 16, I was a mess. I had severe anxiety and depression. I started seeing a school counselor because I couldn't handle everything on my own anymore. She could tell something was wrong, but I was too scared to tell her the truth. I was afraid she wouldn't believe me, just like my family hadn't. So I kept it all inside, and it just kept eating away at me. Then, when I was 17, something happened that changed everything. I was at a party with some friends, and I overheard a girl from another school talking about this creepy older guy who had been harassing her. As she described him, my stomach dropped. It was Raymond. She was talking about the same things, the accidental touching, the way he'd escalate things, the threats to keep quiet. I felt like I was going to throw up. After she finished talking, I went up to her and asked for more details. She described everything, the way he'd find ways to be alone with her, the way he'd make her feel trapped and scared. It was exactly what I had been through. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone. And maybe, just maybe, if there were more of us, people would finally believe us. I spent the next few months gathering evidence. It wasn't easy, and it definitely wasn't something I ever thought I'd have to do, but I knew I had to protect myself and make sure Raymond couldn't hurt anyone else. I started recording conversations with him whenever he'd call me. I saved every creepy text he sent, even the ones that made my skin crawl, just to look at. I even went as far as setting up a hidden camera in my bedroom after he mentioned wanting to visit me at night. It was risky, and I was scared out of my mind, but I was desperate. I needed proof that he was the monster I knew he was. Then I reached out to the girl from the party. Her name was Amber, and when I told her that the man harassing her was my brother-in-law, she was completely shocked. We ended up talking for hours, comparing notes and experiences. It was like we were living the same nightmare. She had evidence too, screenshots of messages, recordings of calls, everything. Together, we started looking for other victims. We didn't know how many there might be, but we had a feeling Raymond hadn't stopped with just us. Within a month, we had found 5 other girls, all between the ages of 12 and 17. It was heartbreaking to hear their stories, but it also made me feel less alone. The pattern was the same for all of us. Raymond would meet us through family connections or his job as a youth support coach, gain our trust and then start the abuse. He was strategic, picking girls who were vulnerable or who he thought wouldn't be believed. It made me sick to think about how calculated he was. Armed with all this evidence, I finally went to the police just after my 18th birthday. I was terrified, but having Amber and the other girls with me gave me strength. The detective who took our statement was incredibly supportive. She believed us right away and assured us that we had done the right thing. It was such a relief to finally have someone in authority take us seriously. The investigation moved quickly after that. They found more evidence on Raymond's computer. Images, videos, chat logs with other predators discussing techniques for grooming young girls. It was more awful than I could have imagined. I felt sick knowing that he had been doing this for years, and I was just one of many. Raymond was arrested. 3 weeks later, the district attorney charged him with multiple counts of assault of a minor, possession of child pornography, stalking, and a host of other charges. The evidence was overwhelming, and he was denied bail due to the severity of the charges and the risk he posed to the community. It felt like a small victory, but I knew the hardest part was still ahead. The trial was brutal. I had to testify, as did the other girls. We had to sit in the same room as Raymond and describe in detail what he had done to us. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. My sister sat behind him every day glaring at me as if I was the one who had done something wrong. My parents attended sporadically, but they never once sat on my side of the courtroom. It hurt so much to feel like they were still choosing him over me. In the end, the jury found Raymond guilty on all counts. Due to the number of victims, the extended period of abuse, and the calculated nature of his crimes, the judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge specifically cited his abuse of his position of trust as a family member and coach as aggravating factors. It was a huge relief, but it didn't feel like the victory I thought it would. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought that maybe, just maybe, my family would finally see the truth and apologize for not believing me all those years. I was wrong. The day after sentencing, my sister showed up at my apartment. She was hysterical, screaming that I had made everything up for attention. She said that Raymond was a good husband and that I was just jealous of their relationship. She even accused me of manipulating the other girls into lying. Before she left, she told me that she was going to sue me for defamation and that I would pay for what I had done to her family. I couldn't believe it. After everything, she still couldn't see the truth. The next day, my parents called. They said they were disappointed in me for tearing the family apart. They said that even if what I said was true, they still wouldn't fully admit it. I should have handled it within the family instead of going to the police. They said that my sister was devastated and that I needed to apologize to her. I was stunned. After everything that had happened, after all the evidence that had been presented in court, they were still taking his side. They were still blaming me. Now, my sister has actually filed a lawsuit against me. She's claiming that I deliberately made false accusations against her husband to ruin her marriage out of jealousy. She's seeking damages for emotional distress, loss of companionship, and damage to her reputation in the community. My parents are supporting her. They're even helping to pay for her lawyer. The rest of my extended family has mostly taken their side too. Only my grandmother and one cousin have reached out to support me. I'm terrified. I know the truth is on my side, but I've already been through so much. The thought of going through another legal battle, especially against my own family, is overwhelming. I don't have much money for a lawyer. I'm still trying to process the trauma of the abuse and the trial. I feel like I'm being punished for standing up for myself, and it's exhausting. I guess what I'm asking is, am I crazy here? Was I wrong to go to the police instead of trying to handle this within the family as my parents suggested? Should I try to settle with my sister to avoid more drama? Or should I fight this? And how do I cope with losing my entire family over this? Edit. Thank you all for the overwhelming support. I'm reading through all your comments and trying to respond to as many as I can. A few people have asked about legal assistance. I'm looking into victim advocacy groups in my area that might be able to help me find a pro bono lawyer. I'll update when I know more. Update 1. I'm still trying to process all of your comments and the overwhelming support I've received. It's hard to put into words how much it means to me to finally have people believe me after so many years of being gaslit and dismissed by my own family. For so long, I felt like I was screaming into a void, and now knowing that there are people out there who understand and stand by me is such a relief. It's like a weight has been lifted, even if just a little. I've been in contact with the victim's rights advocate who helped me during the criminal trial. She's been amazing, and she's put me in touch with a lawyer who specializes in defamation cases. The best part? He's willing to take my case pro bono, which is such a huge help because I definitely don't have the money to fight a legal battle like this. We had our first meeting yesterday, and honestly, it was such a relief to talk to someone who actually gets it. He reassured me that my sister's lawsuit has very little chance of succeeding, which was a huge weight off my shoulders. He explained that truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and we have the criminal conviction to prove that everything I said about Raymond was true. He also said that because the case was of public interest, protecting other potential victims, I would likely be protected even if some minor details were incorrect, which they weren't, by the way. It's comforting to know that the law is on my side, even if my family isn't. The lawyer is preparing a motion to dismiss the case, and he's pretty confident it will be successful. He's also talking about filing a countersuit for malicious persecution and emotional distress if my sister doesn't drop the case voluntarily. Honestly, the thought of going through another legal battle is exhausting, but if it comes to that, I'll do it. I'm not going to let her bully me into silence. I got a copy of the actual lawsuit yesterday, and let me tell you, it's even worse than I thought. My sister is claiming that I fabricated evidence, coached the other victims on what to say, and manipulated the police and prosecutor. She's asking for $2 million in damages, which is just insane. The filing even includes statements from my parents backing up her claims, saying that I've always been troubled and attention-seeking. Reading their words felt like being punched in the stomach. It's one thing for them to refuse to believe me, but to actively paint me as some kind of manipulative mastermind who orchestrated an elaborate frame-up of an innocent man, that's a whole new level of hurt. On a slightly positive note, Amber and the other girls have all reached out to offer their support. They're willing to provide statements, confirming that I never coached them or influenced their testimony in any way. The detective who handled our case has also offered to testify if needed. It's comforting to know that I'm not alone in this and that there are people who are willing to stand up for the truth. I've been staying with my grandmother since this all began, and it's been my rock through all of this. She told me that she always had suspicions about Raymond, but didn't have any proof and didn't want to cause problems in the family. She regrets not speaking up sooner and has promised to support me through this next battle. Having her in my corner means the world to me. As for my mental health, I've started seeing a therapist who specializes in trauma and family betrayal. It's early days, but just having a safe space to talk about everything has been helpful. I'm still dealing with a lot of anger, sadness, and confusion, but I'm trying to take it one day at a time. Some days are better than others. Sometimes I still catch myself wondering if I did the right thing. If there was some way I could have handled this that wouldn't have torn my family apart. But then I remember the other girls, some even younger than I was. And I know that stopping Raymond was the only right choice. I'll update again when there's more news about the lawsuit. Thank you all again for your support and advice. It's been a lifeline during one of the hardest times of my life. Update 2. Things have escalated really quickly and honestly. Not in a way I ever expected. It feels like every day there's something new happening and I'm just trying to keep up with it all. It's overwhelming, but I'm doing my best to stay strong. So, yesterday I received a cease and desist letter from my sister's attorney. It was demanding that I stop spreading false information about her husband on social media and to friends. The thing is, I haven't posted anything publicly about the case except for this anonymous Reddit post, so I'm not even sure what they're referring to. My lawyer thinks it's just an intimidation tactic, a way to scare me into backing down, but honestly, after everything I've been through, I'm not easily intimidated anymore. Still, it's frustrating to have to deal with this kind of nonsense on top of everything else. But the real bombshell came last night. My grandmother got a call from my aunt, that's my mom's sister, and she dropped some major news. Apparently, my cousin Emily, who's 17, had just confided in her that Raymond had tried to assault her at a family gathering 2 years ago. Emily had been too scared to tell anyone because she saw how my family had treated me when I tried to speak up. Can you imagine? She's been carrying that around for 2 years, afraid to say anything because she thought she'd be treated the same way I was. It breaks my heart. My aunt is furious with my parents and sister. She called my mom and just unleashed years of pent-up suspicions and anger. Apparently, several family members have noticed Raymond's inappropriate behavior towards young girls over the years, but had kept quiet to keep the peace. My aunt has now become my unexpected ally, and she's trying to convince other family members to support me. It's weird to think that after all this time, people are finally starting to see the truth. But at the same time, it's also kind of infuriating that they didn't speak up sooner. This morning, I found out my sister has been contacting the other victims, trying to get them to recant their testimony. She's been offering them money and making veiled threats about exposing their private information if they don't cooperate. It's disgusting. But one of the girls recorded the conversation and has already turned it over to the police. My lawyer says this could constitute witness tampering and obstruction of justice, which are serious crimes. So my sister might have just dug herself into an even deeper hole. The prosecutor from Raymond's case has reached out to me directly. She's concerned about my sister's behavior and wants to make sure I'm safe. She's also interested in the new information about my cousin Emily and has asked if Emily would be willing to make a statement. The prosecutor mentioned that they're now investigating whether my sister knew about Raymond's behavior and potentially facilitated it by bringing him around young girls despite knowing the risk. That's a hard pill to swallow. Part of me feels vindicated that more people are finally seeing the truth, but another part of me is devastated by the thought that my sister might have known what was happening and allowed it to continue. I don't want to believe that she could be that callous, but her actions since Raymond's arrest have made me question everything I thought I knew about her. My lawyer has formally filed the motion to dismiss my sister's lawsuit. He's also preparing a restraining order against her based on her harassment of me and the other victims. He's advised me to cut off all contact with my sister and parents for now, which hasn't been difficult since they weren't speaking to me anyway. It's sad, but at this point, I think it's for the best. I need to protect myself. I've also learned that my parents have been telling people in their church community that I'm mentally ill and made everything up for attention. It's so hurtful, but at the same time, it's not surprising. What is surprising is that several church members have reached out to me privately to say they don't believe my parents' version of events and to offer their support. It's strange to have strangers believe me more readily than my own family, but I'm grateful for it. My therapist has suggested that I join a support group for survivors of sexual abuse and family betrayal. I'm considering it, but the thought of sharing my story with a room full of strangers is intimidating. Still, it might be helpful to talk to people who understand what I'm going through. I'm trying to stay open to the idea. Right now, I'm taking things hour by hour. Some days are better than others, but the support I've received from this community has been a lifeline. I'm grateful for every word and piece of advice. I'll update again when I have more information about the legal situation. Thanks for sticking with me through all of this. Update 3. I'm still in shock over everything that's happened in the past few days. Feels like the situation has completely exploded and I'm struggling to keep up with all the developments. Every time I think things can't get any crazier, something else happens. It's a lot to process, but I'm trying to take it one step at a time. First, the good news. My sister's lawsuit against me has been dismissed with prejudice. That means it's over for good. She can't try to sue me again for the same thing. The judge didn't hold back. She called the lawsuit a transparent attempt to retaliate against a victim of serious crimes and said it had no merit. It was such a relief to hear that, but it's not over yet. My lawyer is now preparing a countersuit against my sister for malicious persecution and emotional distress. Honestly, I never wanted it to come to this, but after everything she's put me through, I feel like I have no choice but to fight back. Now for the bombshell. My sister has been arrested. I still can't believe I'm even typing that. After the police investigated the witness tampering allegations, they got a warrant to search her house and electronic devices. What they found was absolutely devastating. There were emails and texts going back years that showed she was aware of Raymond's behavior. I'm talking about messages where she dismissed victims who tried to warn her, and even some where it seemed like she helped cover up his crimes by discrediting accusers and creating alibis for him. It's like she was actively protecting him, even though she knew what he was doing. But the worst part? They found evidence that she had received a settlement from Raymond's former employer, a youth sports organization, after allegations were made against him there. Instead of reporting him or warning anyone, she signed an NDA and took the money. That's what allowed him to keep abusing girls, including me. It's sickening to think about. The prosecutor has charged her with obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and failure to report child abuse. They're also investigating her as a possible accomplice in some of Raymond's crimes. She's out on bail right now, but she's been ordered to have no contact with me or any of the other victims. It's surreal to think that my own sister could be involved in something so horrible. Meanwhile, my parents are in complete denial. They're insisting that my sister is innocent and that she's being persecuted because of my lies. They've even mortgaged their house to pay for her legal defense. My dad called me yesterday screaming about how I've destroyed the family and demanding that I recant any false accusations against both Raymond and my sister. I hung up on him. I don't have the energy to deal with their delusions anymore. The family has completely fractured. My aunt and several cousins are firmly on my side, which has been a huge source of support. But others have doubled down on supporting my sister and parents. It's heartbreaking to see how divided everyone is, and I know holiday gatherings are going to be awkward for the foreseeable future. But honestly, I'm okay with that. I'd rather have a small group of people who truly believe and support me than a big family that's built on lies. My cousin Emily has been incredibly brave. She's formally made a statement to the police about her experience with Raymond, and I'm so proud of her for speaking up. It's not easy to come forward, especially when you've seen how other victims have been treated, but she's doing it, and I know it's going to make a difference. In the midst of all this chaos, I've received an unexpected outpouring of support from my community. After the news about my sister's arrest broke, several more victims have come forward. It seems Raymond's abuse was even more widespread than we initially thought. The detective handling the case told me they're now investigating at least 15 potential victims spanning over a decade. It's horrifying to think about how many lives he's ruined, but I'm glad people are finally speaking up. My grandmother has been my rock through all of this. She's officially changed her will to remove my parents and sister, saying she can't bear the thought of her money going to people who protected a predator over an innocent child. She's also started the process of putting her house in my name, so I'll always have a safe place to live. I don't even know how to thank her for everything she's done for me. The lawyer handling my countersuit against my sister has been contacted by a major victims' rights organization. They want to help fund my legal battle and potentially use my case to establish stronger precedents for victims who face retaliation from family members. They've also offered me a part-time job working with other young survivors, which would help with my financial situation while I figure out my next steps. It's amazing to see how many people are stepping up to help. I've started attending the support group my therapist recommended, and it's been incredibly helpful. Just being around people who understand what it's like to be betrayed by those who should have been protecting you has been healing. One of the group members is a law student who specializes in victims' rights, and she's been an amazing resource for understanding the legal aspects of everything that's happening. As for my mental health, I have good days and bad days. Some mornings I wake up feeling strong and empowered, ready to face whatever comes next, and other days the weight of everything feels crushing and I can barely get out of bed. My therapist says this is normal and that healing isn't linear. She's helping me develop coping strategies for the bad days and teaching me to celebrate the good ones without feeling guilty. I still have moments where I question whether I did the right thing by coming forward. Not because I have any doubt about Raymond's guilt, but because of the tsunami of consequences that has followed. So many lives have been upended, including my own. But then I remember the other victims, especially the younger ones who might never have found the courage to speak up if we hadn't started this process. And I think about all the potential victims who will never become victims now that Raymond is behind bars. When I look at it that way, I know it was worth it. For the first time in years, I'm starting to think about my future. For so long, I was just surviving, just getting through each day. Now, I'm allowing myself to dream a little. I'm considering going to college in the fall, maybe studying psychology or social work, so I can help other survivors. The Victims' Rights Organization has mentioned potential scholarship opportunities, which is amazing. The legal battles are far from over. My sister's criminal case is just beginning, and my countersuit against her will likely take months to resolve. The prosecutor has also mentioned that there might be charges filed against my parents for failure to report child abuse, though that's still up in the air. It's a lot to deal with, but I'm ready to face it. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm not fighting alone. I have my grandmother, my aunt, my cousin Emily, my lawyer, my therapist, the support group, and even strangers on the internet who have taken the time to offer kind words and advice. It's been a lifeline during one of the hardest times of my life. To everyone who has supported me through this journey, thank you. Your belief in me has given me strength when I needed it most. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I'm stronger than I ever thought possible, and I'm ready to face whatever comes next. I'll update again if there are significant developments in either the criminal case against my sister or my countersuit, but for now, I'm trying to focus on healing and building a life that isn't defined by what happened to me. P.S. To any other survivors reading this, you are not alone. Your voice matters, and it's never too late to speak your truth. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.